Today I messed up by volunteering to drive my professor to the airport. Posted by you/viewwish311. So, I'm a political science major at my college, and honestly, it is a lot harder than I expected. I love my major so much and hope to pursue law one day, but this semester, in particular, has bogged me down. My international relations class is what's really kicking me. The professor loves to favor her students who are in the student club that she advises and actively dismisses anyone who is not a part of it and not interested in joining. This is reflected in my grades and those of other students. English is also not her first language, and although I will say that even with her thick accent, she speaks English just as well as a native-born citizen, she doesn't always pick up on comprehension, which has led to so many problems that I can't even begin to explain. Trust me, I've tried complaining about it to no avail. Anyway, I found out that we would be having our final in 2 days when I was expecting it to be during the actual finals week, and she did not mention it before. I freaked out, thinking I was going to flunk because even though I know the material, I know she'll grade me poorly because she flat out doesn't like me. Well, here's where I messed up. We were having class today, and as I was having a panic attack, my ears perked up. She asked if anyone could take her to the airport next Tuesday, and if they could, she would pay them $50. I looked around, waiting for someone to offer, but no one did. I sort of felt bad because, even though she has been downright rude to me, it makes me sad to think this is the first year she is spending without her husband, who died last semester. She was taken aback when I volunteered, but she gave me her phone number and address at the end of class. I told her, extremely confidently, that she didn't need to pay me $50 because it really wasn't that far to drive for me. She then gave me a weird look and told me that she absolutely had to pay me for gas, as we would be going through a lot of it. I replied that our city's airport wasn't that far and that it really wasn't any bother. She then raised an eyebrow and gave me her signature condescending look before informing me that she was going to the ATL airport, which, at best, is 2.5 hours away from me according to Apple Maps' estimated time for that date. However, I've heard Atlanta traffic is horrible, so it's probably going to be 3 hours. I do have a final that Tuesday at 1 p.m. However, I informed her of this and warned her that it could make me late and that she might want to find someone else. But it's a blow-off class, and his final is supposedly only about 30 minutes long. Plus, she lives close. I also haven't factored in whether or not she is traveling internationally, which, judging by her painfully thick Italian accent, she probably is. I haven't heard much from her about any family living in the States with her. If so, I assume she needs to be there 3 hours early, and from my best estimates, if I leave at 1:30 and don't get slammed by traffic, I could get her there by 4 for a 7 p.m. flight. I've also been thinking about asking my blow-off professor if I can take his exam earlier because of this obligation. We'll see about that. I'm sticking to my guns. My boyfriend and friends said this was crazy of me to do, but I absolutely hate flaking on people, especially when she's my mom's age. Even if they're nothing alike, it still breaks my heart to think about my mom being alone with only a little dog for company, with no one to drive her to the airport and no second income to help pay for an Uber or another person to accompany her on her journey. I have a few things I need to do first, which include cleaning and scrubbing my car to get rid of any weed smell because it's been so cold outside, and unfortunately, my car has taken the brunt of my stress from this class. I also need to get my oil changed because I'm over 1,000 miles past when my car light went on, and I'm not trying to have my car explode on the road and die with this woman. Lastly, I need to brainstorm some topics to talk about with her because I am determined to be best friends with her by the end of this since I will undoubtedly have more courses with her in the future. Sorry, I know that's a lot. I doubt anyone took the time to read all of this, but if you're giving advice or commentary, don't try to convince me to back out of this. I don't have a good enough reason not to do it, and I am not the kind of person to go back on my word. Update 1 month later. I don't know if anyone cares for an update, but since I had as many comments as I did upvotes, and the majority of those comments were screaming and begging me not to go through with this plan, I think you guys might like to hear that it was a success. Here are some answers to your questions. No one died. She did not smell the weed in my car. We even had a conversation about the legalization of cannabis to the extent that I don't think she suspected me of being a user at all. Yes, it was to the international airport. Yes, my GPS messed up 1,000,000 times. We do go to a smaller school where professors are encouraged, and even hired or fired, based on whether or not they do a good enough job of fostering student-professor relationships. She did offer me more money even after I dropped her off. I told her no, and she said she would give me a gift from Italy. Basically, that day I accidentally said yes to driving my Italian professor to an airport 2.5 hours away from us. I took my weed out of my car and into my apartment, and I aired out my car for not 1 but 4 days with the windows down. I also regularly sprayed it with Febreze and other car scents. Then I took it to a car wash, and the guy there gave me a free premium wash because my card wasn't working for some reason. Shout out to Mark 1 Car Wash. I'm sorry I didn't have any cash to tip the dude because you're seriously a lifesaver. So I got to scrub the living hell out of my car and vacuum every last square inch, removing each little flake of ash and fallen bud. Then, that day, my laptop decided to die right when I needed to take my final, before I had to pick up my professor, so I was 15 minutes late and had an empty gas tank. She ended up paying for my gas, and her dog sat quietly in the back seat. I awkwardly told her she could look at my CDs if she wanted to play music since all I had was a speaker for podcasts. However, she simply said no and that we could find other things to talk about during the car ride. And we did. We talked for 2.5 hours about social justice, international politics, traveling, life, family, and learning. It was actually the best conversation I'd had in a long time. Although I did freak her out with my bad driving skills and forgot that there was a time change, so we arrived at 5 instead of 4 like I had planned. That meant we were not only stuck in work traffic but also an hour late to a busy airport, with her flight departing at 7. It was really refreshing to talk to someone who has gone through so much change. She grew up and studied in Italy before her late husband, who was then her boyfriend, convinced her to move to the States so he could teach at a prestigious university. Obviously, I'm not including real details. She has since bounced around the United States and the world, working with different international organizations and teaching at many good schools before making her way to mine. I have no idea why she stays at my school, and I asked her why she has stayed there since her husband passed away last year and all her family lives in Italy. She simply said that she loves her independence, that she loves change, and that when she feels there is another good opportunity, she'll move again. But for now, she has a lot of love and support where she is. She also said that love and support are key to change, even if you don't have a partner or someone to travel with or to, knowing that you have loved ones rooting for you, no matter where they are in the world, makes change so easy for her. Because the love never changes, even if the flight numbers do. She also told me I didn't need to live such a strict life plan. Some backstory: I was born in France, which makes it much easier to get citizenship there since the country recognizes that I have a stronger connection to it than someone who wasn't born there. I had always thought I would just do my undergrad, go to law school, and live near my parents and my boyfriend so I could be with them and take care of my family. When I told her my plan, she tried her best not to wrinkle her nose and told me that, although it was unsolicited advice, my connection to France, a strong country in the EU, was too good of an opportunity to pass up. After all, if I had French citizenship, I would be eligible to work, live, vote, and access services in any and all EU/EA countries. She told me that living near my family was fine and that she understood that well enough, but that I also have other family members to help take care of them. She said she doesn't want me to fall into what so many women do. I agreed with her when she said she has only ever heard women say they need to live near their parents or partner because someone has to be the caretaker, and that it's never meant opting out of opportunities or bigger horizons because they're worried about getting married or taking care of their parents. By the end of it, I felt like I had thought about things I had never given myself the room to consider because I didn't want to dream about things that wouldn't happen. But now I know they could happen, and I have more opportunities than most to live a crazy life. I'm glad I talked to someone who loves change so much because I was finally able to understand why someone could. Also, I officially signed up to take her film class next semester, hee hee.